Hello, everyone. Welcome to Genealogy Adventures. I'm Brian Sheffy. Oh, Danya, unmute. You need to unmute.
I'm sorry. I'm Danya Williams. How you doing, y'all? This is so new.
I'm Lalita Yeldell-Sylvers. Nice to be here. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Yes. So, obviously, we are now broadcasting on TV. To say that Donnie and I are actually over the moon about this is a slight understatement. So thank you to the E360 TV family for getting us up and running.
Yes, thank you very much. This is awesome. We're excited to be here. It's just a wonderful thing, and I'm really excited about having Lalita on the show today. And we're playing on YouTube, we're playing on Amazon Fire Stick, we're on Apple TV, we're on
Roku, all of it.
Roku and Apple iOS and Android. So we're everywhere, and we're just really excited about the entire thing.
So we are going to get straight into it because today we have Lalita Yeldell, who's written, this is probably going to, the light's not cooperating on this one. She's written an amazing book called Circumcision of a Wounded Heart, an unjust journey due to systemic racism, classism, and oppression. So we have a lot to cover today. It is an upsetting story. I actually got tearful more than once reading it, and I'm not one of life's criers. I just don't. And I actually felt myself getting emotional. Powerful story. And for those of you who've been following Genealogy Adventures for a few seasons, you know that last season we had a two-parter with retired police chief Ralph Godby, who, as a retired police chief, was talking about systemic racism, and he knew, the issues that he was aware of from his perspective. Well, we have a real life case of that today. It is powerful, it's evocative, and in terms of the American judicial system, the change is a long time coming. And if you really want to understand what Black Lives Matter is truly all about, and not what people might think it's about, this is it. And Lalita's experience is the reason why law schools teach critical race theory. Her case is textbook, just across the board. So with that, welcome to the show, Lalita.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me.
We are happy.
And this is really special for me because we are cousins. All three of us are connected through Edgefield, and this is the first time I've actually met you. So, hello, cousin.
Same here. Hello.
So there's a lot of
me. This is my straight cousin, guys. So this is like this is yeah. I don't know if y'all can even see the resemblance in us. It's there. So we got cheekbones and everything.
So there is a lot of moving parts to the story. Some of it might be confusing for the viewers. So I just wanted to do a real kind of basic 101 of what happened. And my understanding is it was a car accident. It was you driving home. It was another car coming in that was driving on the wrong side of the road. There was a head-on collision, and your life did a 300. Well, actually not a 360 because you go back to where you started. Your life did a complete 180.
Yeah.
From being in a coma for over a month to waking up to your family thinking you weren't even going to survive the accident. That was not your fault, even though you were later charged for it. So, you have all of that. You have a small child. She's freaking out because you can imagine you were your child's whole world, and she didn't know whether her mother was going to live or die for a month, like the rest of your family.
Yeah.
And basically, ever since then, it's about picking up the pieces. But if we can just and again, appreciating that you had a horrific accident, I don't think there was one part of your body that was not broken. Literally, every part of your body was broken. So it is, you're still recovering. It's been years later, but if you can just tell us the year and roughly what you remember, appreciating that you have memory issues because of the head trauma. You can just step us through it.
Well, actually, the accident, it occurred in April 11, 2004. I don't remember any details of the accident. As I was in a coma, a lot of the story, my mom, siblings, friends, different people told me in terms of things happening. So when it first did come out in the newspaper, everything else, I had to learn these things about what people were saying, what was saying did happen, because I had no clue of what happened. I didn't even have a clue that I was in the hospital. So it was very horrific, because you imagine just waking up and not even realizing where you are, to someone telling you you've been involved in an accident, and you're the cause of it, and so it was a lot to deal with. And the type of person I am, I need to have a clear understanding of things. And so just delving in to try to see and pick up the pieces to see where everything went wrong. It was hard. It was very difficult, very hard. I remember looking at a news article that my mom had given to me, and it indicates that someone else was at fault, in the very beginning. Well, after the main driver of the other vehicle passed away, it was put back under investigation, and then I was at fault. So just trying to kind of get through the whole process of what was taking place without even knowing anything that happened, because they asked me a lot of questions about my memory and things of that nature, but I didn't remember anything to be able to testify on my behalf as to what occurred. So they did have to go along with the information that they received from witness statements, which there was not one witness statement where someone was accusing me of doing anything wrong. So, throughout this whole process, it got a little bit, very difficult for me, because when you're trying to clearly understand something and none of it makes sense, I'm starting to question, what is really happening and what is going on? Because when you're trying to put the pieces together and you're unable to do so, that was very confusing to me.
And the hardest thing was, you didn't have the pieces, because you literally couldn't remember anything.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And just again, for the benefit of the viewers, all of this happened in Virginia. And did this happen in Richmond or outside of Richmond?
I was in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
It was on the highway, actually. I want to say I-95, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe it was I-95.
So the first part of the book that really confused me in terms of what happened is you did a really good job of explaining how the investigating trooper decided he would, to do forensic investigation of a car accident involves mathematics, higher mathematics, trigonometry, and calculus, and it also involves physics. You have two bodies moving at a rate of speed that collide, and then that's where the science and the math takes over. You look at the damage to the motor vehicles, the tire marks on the road to figure, who braked, how long the car kind of carried on after braking, just all of that science. Trust me, that kind of science and math, my weak points. I ain't even gonna lie about that one. Physics, calculus, and trig brought down my whole high school kind of average. So I have an appreciation for that. So the investigating trooper just decided he wasn't even gonna look at the math, which is actually the really important part. And he just decided to look at the science, and then he kind of came up with his own theory. Because the bit that I didn't understand is there was a car that was traveling the wrong direction, which was the whole reason behind the head-on collision. And it should have been really easy to prove what car was in the wrong, but there was an issue about that.
And well, that's the thing that really confused me, because when you have witness statements and people can say, well, I know she was traveling the same direction as I was because I was directly behind her. You have the bus driver saying that, you have someone else saying the exact same thing. And so these people didn't know me. They came from out of town to testify on my behalf. I don't remember anything, but you have these people saying she was going in the same direction as I was going, but yet and still that was not taken into consideration.
Okay. And the next thing that became really apparent to me, and I think Donnie's going to jump in on this, is before you actually wrote that there was a personal hostility towards you from the police, I kept thinking everything this woman is suffering at this point seems personal. It feels personal. And when it comes to the justice is meant to be blind. It's not meant to have an opinion. It is meant to trade on fact. And that just seemed, from the beginning, that just seemed wholly absent in your case.
Yeah, I know from talking with my family. My mom said that when she talked with the trooper, he was very rude to my family from the very beginning because he was trying to tell my mom that they believe it was my fault. And my mom said, that can't be true. And because she would not agree with him, it ended up kind of being an argument, so to speak. But my mom was told that he was not the original officer on the scene. There was another officer on the scene. And when he got there, evidently that person was removed. We never heard of them again. So I have no idea of who that person was. But yeah, it was so crazy because, like my mom, my uncle, they went down to the police station, asking questions, like everything, trying to figure out what is going on. But they seem to have an issue with my family because of them wanting answers. He even came to the hospital. My mom said when I was in a coma and told her, he wanted to give his condolences. I wasn't even dead yet, and so it was very crazy, but like I'm getting all of this information, like I say, from family, friends, different things that happened where they were there to actually witness, what took place and talking to the state trooper. During the time period when all of this took place.
I'm at reading the book. I'm gonna tell you right now. I said this to you earlier before we got on. I was so determined to find a bright spot, and I just kept reading because I needed a bright spot. And I literally got to the last chapter. And I read something in the last chapter on the very first page. And it was still at the point you were like, but this happened. Nothing was going to prepare me for, I'm like, nope. And I closed the book. I couldn't go any further because I wasn't getting my bright spot. I didn't want anything else to happen to you. And it was crushing me. Now, I'm the person that read the what's the name of the book, Brian?
With Charlotte Brooks?
Yes, Charlotte Brooks. You can't get more detrimental. That book right there was just terrible. But I was able to read that book. And there was only one section in that book that made me close it briefly. But then I got right back to it. But your book was so very interesting. It's so very... You could tell the openness and the honesty that was coming from you in the book, that you had no choice but to just keep reading and going forward. But it was, I didn't cry, but my heart just ached. And I was like, she can't get a break for nothing. So yeah, I'm the thing about the personal and the officer and everything like that. I knew it was personal, like 3 lines in.
And I think the larger part of my frustration and the anger that came from it was that initial injustice, that initial mishandling just kept getting compounded to the point where, and we'll discuss this later in the show, you were still haunted by parts of this systemic injustice and the racism within the American justice system.
Right.
You want to move past this. You want to put this behind you. But because that initial injustice was laid down, you're still fighting. This is still following you.
Yeah.
That really frustrated me and made me so, and it still makes me feel a kind of way, but it made me feel really angry as I was reading the book.
Yes. I just, like I told Danya before we even went live, I mean, I just can't believe and will not believe that this story has to end this way, because it's been going on for so long and I've been fighting for so long, and, I'm like, it's not going to end this way. Everything, I have to overcome whatever in order for me to get to where it is God is trying to place me, because I know that I didn't go through all of that for nothing. Even with me finishing my education, everything else, I have my master's degree in social work. I've been offered multiple jobs. I can't get in my field because of my conviction being a burial crime. And in the state of Virginia, a burial crime is forever. So it's never removed. I've done a newspaper article in reference to this. I reached out to, my representative in reference to this, different things that I've done in trying to help myself. But yet and still, nothing is done. So, I know that if I'm experiencing this, it's so many other people, because there are so many. When I say a lot of burial crimes listed, it's a lot of them. And you won't even know that you have a burial crime. And I wouldn't have known if I hadn't applied for this job. And his sister, she cared enough to call me and have a conversation with me and inform me about why she couldn't hire me. And she explained to me what a burial crime is. So I would have never known about that. So I know that there are a lot of people, that have been incarcerated, probably are out trying to get a job and they can't, but they're just being denied. They probably don't even have an idea that they have a burial crime conviction, and that is what's holding them back. And so the crazy part is, I was able to do my internships, for 2 years, and worked directly with the public, worked with children, adults, everything, was able to receive my registration to do it as well. But then, it comes to getting a job and, oh, well, you can't do this, which was very confusing to me, because you allowed me to do it, to do my internship. No one told me prior to when I started school that you're not going to be able to go into this field because of, you having this conviction. But yet and still, you allow a person to do this and then trying to get this far to tell them that they can't move forward. Like I said, I was offered multiple jobs. I still have the letters to prove it, only to tell me when my background check comes back that, oh, we can't hire you because you have a burial crime conviction.
So are you saying that they didn't know until after the background check, or?
Correct. Because once they pull your background, and then they see the type of conviction and they explain, well, involuntary manslaughter, that's one of the things that is considered to be a burial crime conviction, but the list is extremely long. So there are a lot of charges that are considered to be burial crime. But if no one tells you that, a person wouldn't know. They would just go and apply for a job and they just won't hear back, or they just won't get the job.
So again, for the benefit of the audience, just talk about the journey between being the actual victim of the accident that you didn't cause, and then you being arrested and actually jailed for it.
I think that it was very difficult for me. I can remember when I was found guilty, and I want to say that this was before my appeal bond. And I was arrested for 15 days. They put me in orange and white stripes. And that's like if you're a serial killer, and I was not allowed.
Wait a minute. The orange and white stripes, you mean they do things to let people know what somebody is by their uniform?
Yeah, I mean, like, in terms of color when you're incarcerated, because orange is felony, then you have yellow, then you have the one for work, so yeah, it's a differentiation of where you belong. But I was confined with it, like in a cell, but I was by myself, and you could only come out 1 hour. And, I was wearing orange and white, but, the stripes. And I really could not believe what I was experiencing, because I had never been incarcerated in my life. So throughout this whole ordeal, it was very difficult for me because you literally have to mentally take yourself out of who you are to try to deal with what is going on with you. And I just don't even know how to explain it. I remember myself during the time period when I did win my appeal, and I was still out on an appeal bond. And, I remember taking 5 classes in college, like not to even think about everything that I had going on, because mentally I was so stressed out, I didn't know what to do. And so just trying to kind of like deal with that, and then trying to figure out like, how did I get to this point? And trying to understand, like, questioning why this happened to me. I always thought the justice system worked, but what I began to see is that was not the case. And I really didn't want to believe that. Going through trial the first time and you hear being found guilty and you're sentenced to 15 years and you have never been locked up before. I mean, I literally thought I was losing my mind.
Now, to explain to viewers how egregious what happened to you was, you started receiving paperwork about the accident and about your case.
Mm-hmm.
And there were first of all, you can talk about the outright lies, but they even got basic details about you wrong. They were flat out wrong. Your weight, they put you down as being about, what was it, 14
130.
pounds?
130, I think it was.
40 pounds less than what you actually were, to try to make it seem as though, because first of all, you hadn't drunk anything. There was no DUI, but they were trying to pin that on you. Giving you a lower weight would have increased your blood alcohol level.
Yes. Right.
So they were wrong about the weight. They were wrong about, and just talk about some of the other things that they were just flat out wrong about.
They were wrong about the weight, the date of birth, age, like the whole record was wrong, and that was questioned. And then it has somebody to testify, oh, well, no, if a person comes in this way, we just put it under this, to kind of like, justify it. And I just couldn't believe what was happening before my eyes. Because when my attorney had got my records, it was also someone else's medical records mixed in with mine. Oh, and wow. So now you're saying that these people are so perfect that they can't make any mistakes.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there. So the judge didn't comment on any of that.
No.
Really? Nothing. No word, nothing to the prosecution about that.
Every time my attorney tried to speak on certain things, I know there was one particular point, and this is during my first trial, where the judge said, overrule, let's move on. When he started to ask questions about the alcohol level, the stuff being wrong and everything, what I'm saying? She said that she wanted to move on because he wanted to question another witness again in reference to the information, but she wouldn't allow it. She said, overrule, let's move on.
Your life.
So basically, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say, even though your freedom was literally hanging in the balance, but go ahead.
So basically, they didn't give them the opportunity to cross-examine about those particular things.
No.
In both trials?
The second trial was a little bit different because you had the judge on the bench saying that the details in the trial is so confusing that he hopes that the jury is able to make they're able to reach the verdict that they need to reach. And so for him to make that statement, that right there is saying that there is reasonable doubt. If you are saying this and you're the judge, and so I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
So kind of what I was getting from the book is, if you are Black and a woman, or if you're poor, because again, you do talk about classism. So poor, regardless of what your ethnicity or race is, if you're poor and you're a part of the oppressed group, Black, Latinx, Native American, put whatever moniker you want to it. Basically, what you're saying is this justice system is not for you. It was not built for you.
It isn't. I mean, I truly, honestly believe I would be still incarcerated today if my family, everybody didn't work together to raise money in order for me to get another attorney and to fight the system. I know that I probably would have done those 15 years that they originally gave me because I wouldn't have had the money to pay to have it appealed and pay another lawyer. You know, my family had to come up with a lot of money just to try for me to be free, you know. And I mean, it's really sad. You know, most people would probably give up in the beginning. If I thought I had to raise thousands of dollars, you know, all of the things I was going through, some people would just be like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to accomplish that. I just give up. And that this is what's happening to our brothers and sisters now, and the ones that have life, the ones that have been there for a long time. If you don't have the money to be able to try and save yourself, and then even in some cases, you might have the money, but still you're the wrong color, you know, and it just may not work out for you. And with my situation, okay, I'm not incarcerated now, you know, but it's still being made difficult for me to be able to move forward because they wanted to force me to try to take a plea, and I would not do it. So if you don't do it my way, then you don't have to worry about anything because I'm going to make it difficult for you and you're not going to be able to move forward anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, you made a comment in the book how you, because I know Brian was going to talk about this as well, about how you were changing yourself in the process, the judgmental. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. You're not judgmental. You're a Yeldell. Okay. That's what you are. And we are a very intelligent group of people. We question, we ask, we want to know because we our parents, whether we were raised together or not, you're not going to sit here and tell me that Layla Bell and your mom, Linda, that they did not tell you the same thing that my mother said to me. No one is better than you. You are equal to them, but ain't nobody better.
That's right.
So that wasn't you being judgmental or anything. That was just you being a Yeldell, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing. So please don't change that.
And I would also say more than a little Edgefield. You know, your reluctance to accept the hand that you had been dealt and the cards that you'd been dealt in the situation that you found yourself in. Donnie and I read about that, about our ancestors in Edgefield all day, every day. We're just not a people who lay down and accept things that get done to us.
Yeah. Rhonda Barlow says, so if this happened to you, how many people are innocent and their lives are ruined because of a lot of people? And then she said a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people affected, and that's what motivated me is in addition to my own struggles to write the book. You know, it's like God is saying, like, you know, a lot of people are dealing with these issues. And so it needs to come out because it might be able to give somebody hope. You know, that person that is in their cell thinking that they won't be able to overcome or be able to do anything with their life because this is it for me, you know. And so I think that for some people, it can bring them hope. You know, that, you know, it's all in how you look at things and how you move forward for yourself. But you can overcome it.
And again, and I'm going to use the word systemic because you were failed systemically. So from the first lawyers that you had to the judges that sat on your case to the police who were supposed to investigate objectively and didn't. But then when you were in prison, you had counselors who were supposed to be there to build you and to help you and to get you on your feet. They failed you. You said there was not a part of your body that was not broken. So you had disability. You had people trying to make you work. You had healthcare professionals in prison who were working against you.
Yeah.
Not trying to make her work, Brian. They made her work.
Mm-hmm.
You had a counselor who, again, because of alleged misdeeds in his private life, killed himself, but went out of his way to make your life a miserable.
Hell.
Yeah.
And who's supposed to help you? So it's just every aspect of this experience that I read about and that you lived through was working against you. There was nothing working for you. I mean, is that a good and fair impression?
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, the whole thing, and then when you got to the counselors, and what makes it even worse, first of all, I really wanted to fight him, and I was almost angry because he killed himself, because I was ready to go find him and just like, I was just ready. Let me get this dude out real quick, because this is crazy. But nevertheless, I'm like, then you turn around and you get a great counselor, and they fire her because she was helping everybody. So I think this points towards the injustice towards those who are in jail. Because this woman who was helping you, who told you what was put on your thing that the other counselor would not tell you, when you found out you had alcohol charges on your thing,
drug charges,
you was a drug dealer, I'm like, got to be kidding me. He was the one that told you all of these things. And now that she's told you all these things, then she was turning around and, according to you, helping other people, making sure their stuff was right so they could move forward. And they literally fire her. If this isn't the definition of systemic racism, I don't know what is. Because when you have somebody there to help you and they're actually doing your job, and then they turn around and let her go because she's doing her job, it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, any help there, it was almost like a needle in a haystack. You had a few good ones, but everybody else just kind of like sticks together, and the inmates were treated horribly. I think I talk about in my book, the time that I was in my cell for almost a few hours. They wouldn't let me out, having to go to the bathroom. I ended up getting sick. And when I finally did get out, I just vomited everywhere.
Yeah.
They just don't care how they treat you. You're treated like an animal.
I cried with that one.
Yeah. And mentally, I mean, that would affect anybody. And I don't think that, I know that this is not something that they are concerned about, in terms of how people are affected, because like the counselors, the different people that they have in place, these people aren't there to help. So how do you expect somebody to deal with the issues that they have as a result of incarceration? And then you got to think about why people continue to come back. Is this not even discussed? Like, what can be done to help? I don't really think that things are placed, things are set up to make it seem like it's to help, but really it is not.
It's not.
And that's why you have so many people that are repeat offenders as a result of it.
So I have another question. How did this whole thing affect your family life? I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to, but
I mean, it affected my family tremendously, especially my daughter. Because she didn't understand, me having to go to prison, and, it was really difficult, and talking to her, and, she's thinking I abandoned her, and that I left her, my mom, it affected my mom so bad that, I really believe my mom getting sick, it had a lot to do with the things that I experienced myself, because me and my mother were very, very close. And she just couldn't deal with what was happening to me. My mom had even asked the officer, she said she would trade places and do the time for me. you know, because she said, my daughter didn't do this. And, she just couldn't deal with the fact that I was going to have to be incarcerated and locked away. And even when my mom came to see me, I always saw just by looking in her eyes, it really tore her to pieces. It really did, and just having to deal with and live with that myself, it was affecting everybody, siblings, family, my daughter, my mom, and so it was affecting me because it was affecting them, although I'm trying to stay strong to get through what I'm having to go through. So, yeah, I mean, it's done a lot of damage.
And when I read the book, the question that I had, and I still have, and there's no answer for this. Mm-hmm. You are a very articulate woman, educated. You were educated and articulate before this ever happened. You had a sense of who you were and what you were about. Mm-hmm. You had that inner kind of fortitude and strength to draw on. Mm-hmm. What happens if you were one of the other women that you were writing about who were poor and oppressed, who didn't have that kind of education or fortitude? If this is what you went through, I hate to think what they went through.
And that's the thing right there. I remember when I was incarcerated, I used to sit and I used to read a lot. And so if I wasn't reading, I would be writing. And I have people come and just talk to me. They would tell me their whole life story. It was just out of the blue. And, I would talk to a lot of people. And when I say that some of the women I was incarcerated with, they went through some terrible, terrible things. And a lot of them didn't have self-esteem, and mainly these are the areas where they needed help. They were in abusive relationships, marriages, mistreated. Parents were on drugs. One girl had been molested by her father. It's a lot of different things that they were going through. But who are these women going to talk to about their problems in order for them to get the help that they need when you're dealing with a system that doesn't care?
So we can kind of dispense with the myth that incarceration is about rehabilitation. It's just flat out punishment. It's just flat out punishment.
Yeah.
It's punishment.
It's punishment.
You could see that from what she wrote about it. Yeah. So okay, because I'm telling you, your book went to my heart, like in so many different ways. So now I want to know about the program that you went into, and then they had the nerve to put you on like a board for it, I guess, in so many words. And you thought it was going to work and you thought it was good. But then as you were going through it, that Yeldell mind kicked in and you were like, okay, you're missing this, you're missing this, you're missing this.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the thing right here. See, they needed to put this program in place in order for them to receive funding from the government. Okay. And so they had the governor came in, they had so many different people come in. And so they had the inmates. I want to say it was 12 months. Like if you had 12 months left, and when I had gotten to that point, you're transferred to another wing. And so the programming is done there. Well, they didn't have any rules, any guidelines, nothing. Like we were supposed to come up with all of this on our own, the inmates, and just expect us to work it, And so I'm like, wait a minute here. This is not making any sense. And so they did give certain duties to different people, but some people that didn't want to do things, they didn't make them. It was a disaster starting, and I didn't want to believe that in the beginning, but it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. But it was pretty much set in place so that when the governor and everyone came, they could show their programming. We're all in a circle. They got the board up like you're learning, and you're clapping your hands and all of this kind of stuff. But it was a disaster.
Wow.
Well, we have an excellent question from Karen Imes, and she's asked, how do we hold our legislators and galvanize our community leaders around this topic? There has to be accountability. Well, let's start with Virginia. Virginia's got a governor's race going on at the moment. They should be asked. Voters in Virginia should be asking the governors, what would you do in a case like this? And we need to be asking that to everyone who's running for public office in our communities. Because this is nothing new. We've been hearing, I'm 55 years old. I've been hearing about systemic racism and injustice in the American legal system, talked at the dinner table since I was a kid. So our politician, anyone running for public office, we should be asked, what are your plans for rehabilitating the judicial system, starting with your state or your county? That's my idea. I don't know how the two of you feel about that.
I mean, okay, let me tell you something. Reading her book discouraged me so much that she spoke to 2 senators. She sent letters to 2 senators. One of them was more personal. The other one, it was like a regular thing. Just a standard letter, like a standard response or what have you.
You kind of mean like the favorite American phrase, thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers, exactly. It was that whole thing. It was a thoughts and prayers type of thing. And I'm just at a point, like, I don't know how to help. I don't know what we can do or where it is. Because one of my concerns is you have programs, private programs out here that allow people like Lalita to be counselors because they have gone through what they've gone through. Why is it that she can't get one of those jobs? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, here's another kicker, and I'm not sure, this probably is in chapter 17, Danya, but I did start working, right? And I actually worked for a company that worked with people that had been incarcerated in terms of finding them employment and things of that nature. Okay, well, while working there, I realized that those people didn't really want to help the people they were serving. They talked about people that had been incarcerated like they were the worst people ever. I remember hearing one of my colleagues saying, you'll never be able to do that job, and then telling someone else, so she had a conviction, 10 years ago, and talking about something she's waiting on God. I don't know what God she waiting on. So these are the things that I would hear while I sit in my office, and it made me so angry, and so I'm just like, you have people serving people that really don't want to help the people. I remember doing my internships, and there were several clients I had. They would talk to me about a lot of stuff, but they wouldn't talk to their own counselor because they said they felt like their counselor wanted to tell them how they should live their life, which you have to meet people where they are. You can't tell them how to live their life. Once you show them things by questions and having a conversations, because I could talk to my client and ask them, so are you happy with your life? So what would you want to do differently? See, they're able to pull things out themselves. And once they realize they have issues in their life, they'll make the necessary changes themselves without you telling them how you think the best way you think it is for them to live their life. Because it's their life. It isn't yours. And so a lot of that is going on. And so you have these people, they're seeing counselor, they're going to be hopeless. I mean, one lady told me the counselor, she felt like the counselor thinks she's better than she is, and that her life is better because she always tell her everything she's doing wrong. And how are you going to help somebody when you're responding to them in that manner? You can't.
Well, we have go ahead, Brian, you going to read it?
A.E. Barlow's just asked the question, so will you have a criminal record now? And I believe the answer to that one is yes, you still have a criminal record.
Still fighting.
Also, would you like readers to reach out after reading this book? And if Ms. Barlow can just elaborate on that, reach out to whom, or just reach out in general? Just so that we're clear, because we can
in general.
In general.
So if someone wants to reach out, who would be the best people to contact?
In terms of reaching out here in Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, just to help you.
I have done what I can do. I've reached out to my representative, and he agreed to meet with me. And I met with him, and he was supposed to get back with me. And every time I reached out after that, he never returned any of my phone calls. I wrote the senators, I wrote the governor, I wrote the mayor. I've done everything that I can do on my end, and nothing has been done. And I want to say that is in chapter 17, where it talks about, the steps and stuff like that I've taken in order to, try to overcome and to clear my name. And so I've done everything that I can do on my part. And so I'm like, I wrote the book, and, just waiting on God to show me what to do next.
So what are you doing right now? How are you moving forward, living and everything?
Well, of course, right now my husband works, and I'm grateful to God that I do have a husband that works to take care of the family. And in the meantime, I've been working on trying to start my own business, because I still would like to have my master's degree in social work. I still would like to be a counselor. And so I have been working on trying to get that up and running.
So the business that you're trying to get up and running, is it like one of those not-for-profits who help? Is that the only way you can do it?
That's the only way that I'm seeing so far. And so, I guess it's going to have to come from like more research and trying to figure out what is out there that I can do. Because right now, like I know DBHS, which is the Department of Behavioral Health, I want to say Behavioral Health Services, that is the federal level. And so because of me having the charges, that's what's stopping me from getting in my field. Although, the, what is it called? It's, I'm trying to think of the name of the group, but it's another group. It's like for state, I have my certifications in order for me to work, but federal level, no. And so the federal level is the one that actually has a say-so on what can be done.
So actually, Rhonda Barlow just beat me to the punch. Isn't this something that the Justice Department can look into, especially under the Civil Rights Act?
I guess so. I'm just telling you all the steps that I've taken. So, if there is something else that you all can suggest that, that would be helpful, I'm glad to take any insight and be able to try and take those avenues as well.
Well, I know Merrick Garland's office is very busy and has been since Biden was elected president. But these are the kinds of cases that that they're looking into. So, who knows? Maybe we can start an email and kind of letter writing campaign to the Justice Department.
Right. Well, Karen Imes, she says, Brian, thank you for asking my question. Sadly, it will be once again a numbers game. Not every legislator will take up the cause because it will not further their political agenda. And that right here.
See, that's short-termism. That's, again, and I'm going to say I'm not going to say it's a uniquely American problem. And again, this is from someone who has lived abroad for most of my life. That's short-term view. Because if they can crack this, basically I'm thinking about what the conservatives say. The liberals want to have black and brown voters and willing to do anything to get them. But if they really wanted to have black and brown voters, they would sort this out. They would sort the judicial system out. So it is in their interest to get this sorted, to be the party that actually does it.
But anything that's in their interest, they don't do.
Exactly. It frustrates my soul no end.
Yeah.
It was interesting to me. I did read, and I want to say this probably has only been a few days ago. There is a guy here, and he actually fell some hard times, and I want to say that he was in addiction. But he is suing the Department of Behavioral Health Services, and because he has a burial crime conviction and he's unable to work in his field. So he's suing them. I didn't even know that you were able to do that, but that is something that I came across a few days ago, an article that I was reading here in Virginia.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a second one. This issue is what, and I'm never going to get tired of saying this phrase, Vice President Harris ran on. When she was running to be president, when she was, Joe Biden not nominated, but made her his vice presidential running mate. This is what she ran on. So again, that could be another person that people reach out to say, you campaigned on this issue. You were part of the California legal system for decades. If anyone should understand this and how to overcome it, it's her.
Right. Well, A.E. Barlow says, because this book is about to blow up, people are going to want to reach out and connect and support. And then we have another lady by the name of Belinda McEachern, I think her name is.
McEachern. That's actually our cousin as well.
How are you? Well, she's giving out information as to where to send it, where to send stuff. So she probably definitely helped out while you were incarcerated, and she's giving email addresses that they can go to, and I so appreciate it. Yeah, I see the high cheekbones now. And then another person, Shelly Murphy, she said, go public, go beyond the book, start your own podcast. That's a good idea. Okay. And on this, and open your voice to the public. She said, we can help to spread the word. So the one thing that I love about the Genealogy Adventures followers and fans is that they are always open and ready. They do not play games. Another person, AE said, you need to create a website.
I have that part.
You have that part?
Yes.
Well, you need to send it to me. So we can definitely put it out there.
Yeah, my website is Yeldell-Sylvers.com.
Okay. Yeah, and so it's just we can do. It's so much that people are willing to help nowadays. They do stuff like that, and let me see what else did somebody else say? I can't
remember who said it, but there was one of the viewers that just hit everybody. But as I said, targeting specific, not targeting, but creating a short list of people, movers and shakers in Virginia. Like I said, if there's a hot button topic, this is it. You've got a governor's race going on in Virginia. I don't know what other offices are up for election in Virginia, but everyone should be grilled on this. Like I said, we have a vice president who ran on this subject. That's, we've got the Justice Department. Okay, sorry, there's a little conversation going on between our but even beyond being the cousin, just as a human being, I would just love to see you finally break free from this, because that's really, when you boil it all down, that's all you've ever wanted. You're innocent. You want your record to illustrate and demonstrate that you're innocent. And you want to go on to the work, because I think you said it beautifully in the book. You were a contributing member of society. You had a job and a career and everything else going for you, and that got stripped away from you overnight. And it's like COVID. We will never go back to the way things were before, and your life will never go back to the way it was before. I think you're probably a stronger person now. But you want to go into that future that's been kind of promised and that you've been working towards. And trust me, all of us would just love to see that for you.
Yeah, Dante Eubank says, pave the way by sharing your story. You will open doors for many. So, they're always, and look at my cousin, just dropping stuff. She's dropping all kinds of things. I love my family, man. I get on my nerves, but I love my family. And so they said, Rhonda Barlow, I think this is what Brian was talking about, where Rhonda said, nothing asked, nothing gained, right? Everybody, including P. Harris, And it's just your story is awesome. And to survive it the way that you did, cousin, first of all, I'm so glad you survived it, because I wouldn't get the opportunity to know you. So I'm very, very glad that you survived that whole ordeal. So you had at the back of the book, for your information. I didn't even get a chance. I was just so done and distraught. So Brian has the book right now.
Okay.
What are some of the things in the for your information that
they are? Well, again, there's some very interesting statistics about incarceration rates for Black people specifically, saying that we're overrepresented at every level of the criminal justice system. Imprisonment rates are higher. This was an important point, and this is again something that we're going to have to grapple with as a country. Police, prosecutors, and judges are not held accountable for misconduct that leads to wrongful convictions. That has to change. I am looking for that.
Well, we also have another cousin. Her name is Loretta, and Loretta said, I will ask my cousin, who is a criminal attorney in New York, DC, and Virginia, what Lalita can do to get her case overturned or at least heard by the appellate court. Loretta's good. She's really on my nerves too, but she knows I love her dearly. And no, but she's a very good person. All jokes aside, she's a very good person to be able to help, and she'll if she says she's going to do it, she will do that. So again, like I said, she wanted to know. She did just ask this quick question: do you have an attorney now? If so, I would like to drop a name to my cousin.
No, because everything pretty much has been done. I've had the 2 trials. I've already been to prison. I've already came home. Like at this point, like I don't have an attorney in terms of trying to have someone look into overturning anything. That's what I've been working on.
Okay. Right. Well, Lalita, this was easy, wasn't it?
Oh God.
Well, I mean, because in all seriousness, I mean, we've asked you to spend an hour revisiting one of the worst periods of your life. And I appreciate that that's not an easy thing to do. So, thank you so much for coming on the show and just for being so open and so candid. And thank you for the book.
No, not a problem. And thank you all for having me. I'm very grateful.
We're very excited. So it is time to wrap up, right?
It is. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out about next week's show. Yes. So this is a humdinger. It's with a wonderful and talented African-American documentarian and producer. Her name is Regina Griffin. And she did a whole documentary called Brown Babies. And this is the story of people of mixed race, primarily who were living in Germany after the end of World War II. It involves Americans as well, because Black American servicemen and white German women having babies, and kind of the fate that befell these kids. It's again, it's a very powerful and it's a very moving story.
Okay. It is, and I just want to thank everybody for joining us today, and just for being here and just being our rocks for the first time on stream on E360. This is our
Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you so much. One person said that they didn't see us, so we're gonna have to talk to them about that.
Yeah.
On the thing, we're gonna do that. I need to put this up here. This says, we love you, Lalita. So.
Love you guys too.
And again, also really exciting because it's the first time that we have streamed live on YouTube.
Yes.
So
yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we just did a lot. And that's why I'm saying to you, this was easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was
easy.
Easy. I knew it.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for everyone who shared this last hour with us from wherever you're watching. I'm Brian Sheffy.
And I'm Donya Williams. I want to thank you again for being here. We hope to see you guys soon.
See you next week.
All right. Bye.